On the surface, the match card for WWE Summerslam 2022 is not particularly impressive. There are too many rematches, not enough exciting, unpredictable finishes, and it just feels kind of like a night free of WrestleMania. At least this is one of many accusations that have been levied against the WWE for putting this particular card together. There are even reports and rumours now stating that Vince McMahon and his creative team aren't themselves happy with the card that's been put together. Take a moment to like the video and let's break down what's been going on backstage and everything that's gone wrong so far with SummerSlam this year. I want to start by discussing the big one, the match that was not supposed to happen. Roman Reigns in the main event of this year's SummerSlam will face Brock Lesnar in a last man standing winner-take-all match for both the WWE and Universal Championships. But this match was not supposed to be the plan. The ideal layout that the WWE had featured Randy Orton in that position in a match that we have not seen since around 2015 in any meaningful context. The WWE do not put Roman Reigns and Randy Orton together often. Only recently, when we've had Randy Orton and Matt Riddle as RK Bro working with the Usos, have they actually come back together again. They've spent a lot of time on separate brands, with Randy Orton and Roman Reigns only swapping quite recently over to their current brands, Randy on Raw and Roman on SmackDown. However, the plan was for Matt Riddle to take on Roman Reigns at Money in the Bank. This did not happen due to Roman Reigns' new contract. And for Randy Orton to be challenging Roman at SummerSlam, this did not happen because of an injury to Randy Orton's back. Randy Orton unable to compete at the moment. Now, admittedly, neither of these men was going to be winning either championship, but as much as anything, they were basically placeholders to give Cody Rhodes time to step into that picture to take on Roman. Cody Rhodes was the plan to be taking the briefcase until he also became injured. He would have been featuring on the card, not necessarily against Seth Rollins anymore. That feud would have been over. I suspect we would have been looking at Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens on this card, which certainly would have been something fresh, even though they've had one wrestling match so far since WrestleMania. Brock Lesnar would have featured on the card, and it seems more than likely that Brock Lesnar would have been encountering someone such as, for example, Austin Theory, or a rematch with Bobby Lashley. That said, there was also the potential for a rematch with Drew McIntyre. My hope would have been to see him take on Sheamus, but McIntyre is simply a more likely scenario. Bobby Lashley is taking on Theory for the United States Championship. Bobby Lashley, the current champion, defending against Theory, who he won the championship from at Money in the Bank. Austin Theory is now the briefcase holder, but as mentioned previously, he was not the initial planned briefcase holder. The initial planned briefcase holder was Cody Rhodes, meaning that this is the second match so far, which was not planned to happen the way that it is happening. Austin Theory was lined up for something else. I couldn't tell you what that other thing is at the moment, but Bobby Lashley was going to be the number 2 babyface on Monday Night Raw. He now has had to step into the position as number 1 babyface in the absence of Cody Rhodes, but also in the absence of the replacement for Cody Rhodes, which would have been Randy Orton in his pursuit against Roman Reigns. That's 2 top-level faces on Monday Night Raw that have been wiped off the top, leaving only essentially Bobby Lashley up there competing. This is also one of the reasons that Edge is no longer in charge of Judgment Day, but more on that later. We have Pat McAfee versus Baron Corbin, and this match was planned. Nothing has been changed here, and honestly, I'm excited by the concept. I think Baron Corbin could do a little heating up after doing the favours for Madcap Moss quite recently in a number of different ways. Meanwhile, Pat McAfee has signed a new contract, a new deal that allows him to wrestle more often, and this should hopefully be the start of something quite special for Pat McAfee. For the Undisputed Tag Team Championship, we have the Usos defending against the Street Profits with Jeff Jarrett as the special guest referee. This also was planned. Jeff Jarrett becoming available was sort of an opportunist moment by the WWE, but this was very much the plan going forwards. This is leading to the Street Profit breakup. I've discussed previously on this channel who is going to be turning heel and who is going to be turning face. I'll make sure to put something in the end screen about that. The Miz versus Logan Paul wasn't necessarily the plan for SummerSlam. The WWE were not absolutely confident they could get Logan Paul to sign when he did. However, essentially since WrestleMania, the WWE have been in constant contact with Logan Paul, telling him that they want him to sign. I posted a video about this a couple of days after WrestleMania when it first became apparent that the WWE were making offers to sign Logan Paul to as close to a full-time contract as they could get. He's expected to wrestle for the win at SummerSlam and then sort of disappear for a couple of months. We're not expecting to see Logan Paul in Saudi Arabia, for example. There was the possibility of adding Tommaso Ciampa and AJ Styles to this match and making it a tag match. Very much a possibility, but to be blunt, Vince McMahon and the main roster creative are not high on Tommaso Ciampa at all. Matt Riddle versus Seth Rollins is up next, and this was not a match that was planned even as close to a month ago. Matt Riddle would have been on the card, but he would have been in the corner of Randy Orton to essentially offset the danger of the Usos. Seth Rollins, however, I'm not sure would have been on the card. It would be a surprise to not see him on a card as big as SummerSlam. However, he would have been recovering from essentially being defeated again and again and again by Cody Rhodes, and it's possible that he could have had a little time off with this one. Not an impossibility at all. This leaves just two matches, and they are the women's matches. Firstly, I do want to point out that there was a plan for SummerSlam for the Women's Tag Team Championships. It just wasn't a particularly good plan. We were looking at Alexa Bliss and Liv Morgan versus Sasha Banks and Naomi as one of those possibilities. I would have enjoyed that as a match, but it wouldn't have been given particularly top billing, and it likely would have been the end of the pairing of Sasha Banks and Naomi. At this point, Naomi would have been looking to join the Bloodline and turn heel, because it would have been after she had signed a new contract. As regards the Raw Women's Championship match, this was expected to initially be Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley in a rematch from Money in the Bank. However, the injury to Rhea Ripley has made that an impossibility. With this in mind, the WWE have reached back in and called on Becky Lynch. This would be the third in a series of 3 big pay-per-view or premium live event matches between the two, much as they were originally planning Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair at last year's WrestleMania, then last year's SummerSlam, then at this year's WrestleMania to round it out as they were initially planning. They've instead played this out with Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch taking on Bianca Belair at last year's SummerSlam, this year's WrestleMania, and now this year's SummerSlam as well. They took the opportunity there to close the storyline out, but this is a change for Becky Lynch, who was supposed to sort of lose out for a little while longer, and she was supposed to be winning the briefcase. Which takes us to our final match to discuss, which once again was not the initial plan. Liv Morgan was a last-minute change to become the winner of the Money in the Bank briefcase, and the decision to cash in was last minute as well, due to a number of things. Firstly, an intent of just making sure people aren't focused on the negatives of WWE at the moment by giving them a positive to root for, but also it does come down to someone like Liv Morgan being ready for that step. The lack of Rhea Ripley played into it as well, the need for people on SmackDown after Sasha Banks and Naomi have stepped away, and a number of other things such as, for example, Ronda Rousey not quite hitting the heights they were looking for as a babyface. The match that this replaced was to be a rematch between Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair, which would have been their third and final since their WrestleMania match, then their WrestleMania Backlash match, and here, closing it out, Charlotte Flair would then drop down the card a little further and start working with someone like, for example, Sasha Banks, as was originally going to be the plan at this year's WrestleMania. When it comes to everything happening backstage, a lot has gone wrong for the WWE with this year's WWE Summerslam 2022 match card, and rumours that they're not happy with it may be because of what it could have been previously. That said, I'm not sure everyone will be happy with all the matches that I've pitched there, but I do think we are all missing out on a Randy Orton championship opportunity, even if it's not a championship run. I've been Tom Colohue. Like the video and subscribe for more in the future, and I'll see you very shortly.